What is up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, aliens, anybody else? Welcome back to Large Data Bank. It's good to have everybody here. I'm pretty excited for the stream today. Missed last week. I was eating turkey. You can't blame me, right? You can't really blame me. I was out in Pennsylvania, celebrating, chilling with the cousins, feasting myself full of pie and meat and other good things like that. Right? Music's a bit loud. Well, hey, this is what we got the viewers for. It's good to see everybody. Thank you so much, JB Pratt, for the 1 year. Really appreciate your support. It's crazy. A year's a long time. And speaking of a long time, 19 months. That is a super long time. Matt, welcome back. Thank you so much for the support yourselves and everybody else in the chat. It's good to see you guys. M. Lazowick, Pratik, Lieutenant Junior, ABC WAN, Chemistry. Appreciate all of you guys. Hope things are going well. What's up? What's happening? It's winter. That happened. It's chilly. It's nice. I'm happy about it. I was wearing a sweater earlier, but the heat turned on, so I don't know if I need it anymore. Yeah, I saw old coworker this morning. It was pretty nice. We had breakfast. This guy, he went to live in Spain, and who can blame him? The guy's from Spain. He's actually showed up on the stream a few times. I forget his Twitch name though. But he was visiting New York. It's good to see him. I went to meet him. We had some breakfast. We had some coffee. We caught up. It's really nice to catch up with people that you haven't seen in a year. I like that. I like that quite a bit. Yeah, it's been a busy week. When is it ever not a busy week? I would say is my current status. A lot of year-end wrap-up things to take care of. Not so much technical things this week for me, but I did find this pretty interesting issue that I want to poke at a little bit. Some people were asking about it. It doesn't seem like it's maybe not that hard to do. We'll see. It's famous last words. But a few people were looking at it, wondering whether we had it. We definitely don't support this thing. And I thought that maybe, just maybe, we can make it happen. So that's kind of the plan. Matt, I hope you get back into streaming. I hope you do it. I think it's going to be good if you do it. I think that programming streaming, it had a big renaissance in COVID, and then it's kind of been like, what's the format going to do? That's what I can see. I think it's an interesting time in the programming streaming space, a very big space as it is. I think there's a question: what's next? What's the next big format? I don't know myself, but I think it's ripe. It's ripe to come back. It's ripe to make your return. Here's another question for you guys who are fans of online media. What do you think about Twitter Spaces? What do people think about Twitter Spaces? People into that? People not into that? I was never into Clubhouse because it was iOS only and it seemed kind of annoying. But Twitter Spaces, I've joined some interesting, pretty good Twitter Spaces. I've been kind of enjoying it. You know, you kind of put them on in the background, you listen up, but you don't really have to pay that much attention. You can do other stuff, but it's kind of nice to have some voices on, and you might learn a couple things. A lot of the time, it's kind of BS-y. You know, people are just shooting the shit a little bit, just chatting. You know, but it's kind of nice. I think it's interesting, and I think that unlike with Clubhouse, you know, you get that Twitter network. It's already there. Don't have to worry about making a new app and keeping it going. Why did Clubhouse die? Well, it's because it's a different app, different network, right? This is like, oh, you see Kelsey Hightower. You like his tweets? Oh, he's hosting a space. You know, you're going to join that. You want to hear what's happening. You want to hear the voices of the people that you're following. I think it's kind of neat. You have a good amount of free time soon? That's interesting. Probably a good time to do some streaming. If you've got some side projects. Another thing that people are doing right now is streaming their Advent of Code things, right? Is anybody in the chat doing Advent of Code this year? Raise your hand. I'm not doing it, but I kind of wish I were. You know, it's always fun to do that Advent of Code stuff, honestly. Big downside for me, don't like staying up until 12 a.m. Eastern time to do the Advent of Code. It's like kind of late, you know, and you can do it the next day, but it is fun to do it the next day without that element of racing. I don't know. For me, not as much, but just for me. What's up, Mig? C17? You guys are doing it? That's cool. Just watching it, rather. Do it in Rust. Big Rust is hard, man. Who was I watching? You know, it was our other famous. It's our other more popular, you know, programming streamer friend, Primogen. He was like, I'm gonna do AOC and Rust, and then he gave up in like one day. And I think that would be me too. Primogen, I get it. I totally get that. It seems like pretty hard to do Rust stuff, to be perfectly honest. It's not a quick language. You can't just get all your ideas out there on paper like you can with Go. So that's my take. Mucho hard. More practical network thing. That does sound cool. I really want to. Oh my gosh, you guys, I have this idea for the stream. I have this idea for the stream that it's not really my idea. I got it from somebody else, but so I have a receipt printer, and I had all these great ideas for side projects with receipt printers like 2 years ago, before COVID. And I had this little thing, you know, you could like text, you could like send a message to this little website, and it would print out a little message at my desk at work. It would be like zoop zoop and print out this little receipt with your message. I thought that was kind of funny. It was kind of silly, just for fun, right? But dude, check this out. You get the receipt printer, and instead of having the chat on the side here, you have a camera that's pointing at the receipt. And every time that somebody writes a message into chat, it prints it out on the receipt printer. Isn't that sweet? And at the end of the stream, you can actually even send the receipt to somebody if you want. You know, you have that physical record. I think that is just awesome. I'm like really into it. I think for a stream like mine that doesn't have a super active chat, I mean, it's active enough. It's not going to use up all your receipt printer paper though all at once. So I feel like it could be a really nice thing. So I'm looking at maybe exploring that in the next couple of weeks if I can get that receipt printer back. Earthquake detectors for the modern day. Another large data bank, MD layer podcast. Yeah, that'd be fun. That was a lot of fun when we did that. We should do it again. Prime is doing it this year. Okay, and Russ. I thought he gave up. I thought I saw a tweet that was like, I'm giving up, not doing it. But I could be wrong. Anyway, guys, that's that. That's what's happening. Twitter Space. Yeah, we should do it. That would be fun. I feel like there's some creative applications for Twitter Spaces too. Like, I don't know exactly. I feel like people have just not quite cracked the whole thing. They've done a few things and they haven't mined it for its full potential just yet, I feel. What if chat goes crazy and the printer runs out of ink? Well, the receipt printer, it doesn't actually have ink, right? It's a thermal printer, so there's no ink in it. It's just paper. That's the constraint. Okay. Well, anyway, so that's that, right? That's that. That is that. We're switching to a more quiet music. Should we jump into it? One thing is I think I feel like my keyboard cam is a little off kilter. Well, I'm gonna have to fix that. It's a little bit off kilter. I need to find a better way to mount this thing, honestly. It's pretty annoying to get it just right every time. It's like a balancing act. Literally a balancing act to get this thing right. Mike's low? Mike's not low, I don't think. I'm getting that close to the red. Programming Monday through Thursday, or is it just on Friday? On the stream, it's definitely just on Friday. And at work, I'm not really doing programming for work these days, to be honest. Crazy as that is. Okay, this will do. This will do. A chest harness? I actually had a friend who was... No, see, now I'm clipping. I had a friend who was... He was streaming with a GoPro. And that was extremely nauseating, I would say. I would say that was a nauseating thing that I'm not interested to recreate. This is what I would say about that. What am I doing if I'm not programming? Well, my job is director of engineering, so I'm managing managers is kind of what my job is these days. That's the job. But I do miss programming. That's why I like the Friday thing. It's a good way to stay connected, do a little bit of programming, have some fun, figure out what's happening in the database, right? Keep an understanding. You don't want to learn, you don't want to lose that understanding, I think. Full body steady cam so it doesn't shake. Playing with fire here, but I want to adjust this. It's more like this. Okay. Is it considered my 20% time? Yeah, it's something like that. We don't exactly have 20% time at Cockroach, but it's close enough. We have we call it Flex Fridays. So it's similar stuff. Let me quickly see what we've got going on here in the old terminal. Okay, so we're gonna stash all this stuff. Gonna get our repo back up to date. How did I get into this whole thing? You're talking about programming or CockroachDB or management. I think my career history is that I did computer science degree in college. Before that, I was regular old computer nerd, I would say. I was programming scripts for IRC channels where I was hanging out with my friends to play Halo. It's kind of how I got into this stuff. After college, I became a software engineer, did some jobs, eventually found database land, was an IC programmer, switched to management a few years ago. That's the brief history. Hack days once a quarter, but never enough to be meaningful. Yeah, I think that it's nice to have more than just a day once a quarter, I would say. A day once a quarter is not that much. Okay, so let's actually, I also don't think I've fetched in a little while. So let's just do that. My repo is horribly out of date. Everything's out of date. I'm just remembering what am I even doing? I did take a brief look at this project before I started the stream, so hopefully I have a little bit of context. So basically this project, you guys, what is this all about? So insert on conflict. Insert on conflict is a statement in SQL that allows you to insert data. And if there's already data in the database for a particular row, you can choose what action to do. So you can either do nothing, or you can insert a different value, or you can update, or you can delete. There's a few different actions that you can take if there's a conflict. And basically insert, so let's do it. We can do a quick little demo of what this is looking like. We'll do a quick little demo here. Keep things up to date. But the basic idea of this insert on conflict on constraint thing, it's a little different. Instead of specifying the columns, normally you specify, if I see a conflict on these particular columns, I'm going to take my action. The difference is that insert on conflict on constraint is saying, if I see a conflict in a constraint, in a particular unique constraint or a primary key constraint, it's kind of a shortcut. So it's not so different. It's not so complicated. It's saying, if you see a conflict on the columns specified by a unique index or a unique constraint, then take the same action. So it's a shortcut. And I think it would be nice to support this thing. Postgres supports it. We like to be compatible with Postgres. Right now, there's an error that's returned in our grammar. So pretty high up the stack, we just say, we don't support this thing. So I'm hoping to add support to the grammar, propagate it all the way through, see if we can make it happen. That's the goal for today on the stream. Have you ever worked with programmers with a STEM but non-CS degree whom you would consider competent? Definitely, yes. I work with a lot of programmers with non-traditional backgrounds. I mean, even a STEM degree, I would say that's a pretty traditional background, right? A lot of people get into programming through other engineering disciplines or other science disciplines, statistics or other kinds of engineering or this, that, that's pretty common. I also work with a lot of programmers who never even went to college, and those people are very competent, right? It's definitely possible to get into tech without having that CS background. Definitely 100% possible. Hard to think of ideas on a single day out of nowhere. Yeah, that is true. I think, well, I mean, you can definitely try to like queue up some ideas, right? You don't want to have to think of them in the moment, but you know, you can queue them up. You can have a spreadsheet. You can share them with people. If you want to maximize that hack day, you've got one hack day, you want to maximize it. You got to get your list. You got to get your projects list. Put a spreadsheet, put a notes, you know, talk with your friends about it. And then you can kind of do some pre-work and then push it all through in that hack day, right? But you know, it requires some motivation. That is definitely for sure. I mean, at Cockroach, so not only do we have this Flex Fridays thing, but we also have, we call them breather weeks. And we actually do those, I think it's every quarter, and that's like a whole week. It's kind of a whole, it's not exactly just a hack week, like work on anything, but it's like form a team, do something that is important, but not directly on the roadmap. People love that. And we really prioritize giving people a lot of time for this stuff because we've just seen over and over again that engineers who are working on this thing, they know good projects, good ideas, good things to work on, and giving them that direction, giving them that space to find the direction and do things right. That's a big impact for both people's happiness, because it's nice to have those reins come off, you know, and kind of get to work on what you want. But it's also good for the product, because ultimately people build stuff that is good. That's usually what happens. So many things people have built in their sort of Flex Friday time that ends up in production. So many things. And it's definitely killer. It's definitely important. So we like it. Ah, that's nice. Thank you, I am loser. I appreciate that. So let me show you a quick demo of this insert on conflict stuff. We're gonna make a table, create table A int, B int, C int. Let's make a primary key out of A and B, primary key AB. So let's insert some data, insert into A, values 1, 2, 3. So what happens in SQL normally when we try to insert data that is a conflict, meaning it's the same values in a primary key constraint, right? So what do I mean by that? Let's say I just insert the same values again, 1, 2, 3 again. It's gonna say duplicate key value violates unique constraint, right? Key already exists. That's because a primary key, you can only have one row in a table that shares a particular set of values for a primary key. What's up, Kanye West VPN? Good name. Hey, Spartan. Long compile time for a Go project. Yes, that was a pretty long compile time. I think my caches were pretty cold, but also CockroachDB, it's a giant project. It's not a typical Go project. It is very big. A lot of files, a lot of code, a lot of stuff in there. So, but even if I have a different value for that C column, which is not participating in the primary key, I'm still going to get the same thing. Duplicate key value violates unique constraint. If I pick a new set of values, I'm not going to get the error, right? So the question is, what is insert on conflict? Insert on conflict is a way of deciding, instead of just getting an error back, which is the default behavior, I can choose to do different actions. So let's try it out. Insert into A. Let's see if I even remember the syntax, which I may not. Let's face it, guys. I may not remember the syntax off the bat, but we'll figure it out. Values 1, 2, 3 on conflict. Delete? No. We're gonna have to look up the documentation here. So insert on conflict CockroachDB. So there's do update. I wanted to do maybe there's just do nothing and do update. Are those the two options? So we'll try out what does do nothing do. So we'll say on conflict do nothing. So in this case, even though we have a duplicate value here, we're not getting an error back because we've specified do nothing. And do nothing just says, you know, do nothing. Don't insert, don't edit, don't do anything. Do nothing. On conflict do update, right? So on conflict do updates allows you to actually set any value, if I remember correctly, of the existing row. So if I want to say, if I see a conflict or this particular row, I want to actually do something different. I want to update, the C column just because I feel like it in this case. So I want to say do update set C is equal to, I could even say C is equal to A or A plus 1. I can do any kind of expression in here, I believe. So let's try this. On conflict do update set C is equal to A plus 10. No. Why does that not work? This is important for me to figure this out. Maybe it's because I've got to specify the column. So this is kind of related to what we're going to be working on, right? Maybe I've got to specify the columns, A and B, the ones that I'm seeing the conflict on. Is that what it is? Okay, so that helped. Now it's saying column reference A is ambiguous, candidates excluded.A, A.A. So what is that about? Excluded and A. So what this is actually allowing me to do, it's allowing me to reference either the row that exists, which I believe is A.A, the existing row, the one that's in the table, or it's allowing me to reference the one that I'm trying to insert. And I think that that's called excluded, but I can't remember which is which. But let's try it out. So we're gonna say on conflict AA, do update set C is equal to excluded.A plus 10. So then let's see what's inside of A. Select star from A. So I see that what would be more interesting is let's actually say excluded.c plus 10. So we're going to try to figure out whether excluded is referencing the row that we're inserting or the row that's already there. And so if we do excluded.c, then what we see is that excluded is actually the row that we're trying to insert. So it's the one that we didn't end up inserting. It's excluded. It's not getting inserted, whatever. That's a little bit of a weird terminology, but that's just how it is. And we're getting 1, 2, 13 because we were trying to insert 3. However, if we set this to say do update set C is equal to A.C plus 10, so the existing row, hopefully we're going to see 1, 2, 23. Let's see if that's what happens. That is what happens. So this is what insert on conflict is about. We use on conflict as a way to do upsert. Yes, on conflict and upsert are very similar. What is up, Ghetto Mug? Uno, dos, three. How's it going? So today's project, you remember I was a little struggling. I was like, well, what's missing? What's missing from this syntax? How come this doesn't work? I need to be able to specify which columns to do the conflict resolution on is kind of how I would say it. And I'm specifying them by just listing a set of columns here on conflict A, comma B. The thing that we'd like to implement is a different syntax where I can say on conflict on constraint and then name a constraint, which I think in this case is the primary key constraint, which I think is called primary maybe. Right. So what this would, if I do show create table A, you can say I've got, the constraint's actually called something else. It's called a p key. So if I were to say on constraint a p key, then what this is theoretically supposed to be telling the database is that I would like to do conflict detection on the columns in the constraint that's called a p key. And in this case, we can go over here and we see, oh, constraint a p key contains A and B. So we're going to go ahead and use A and B for our conflict resolution. However, we don't support this. You have used a feature that is not yet implemented. And if I click this, of course, I get to the same issue that we were just looking at earlier. So that's the project. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? Any questions? Think we can do it? I'm not sure if we can do it, to be honest. It could be hard. It could be easy. We'll just have to see. We're going to try it out. So the first thing to do with any project like this is always going to be, well, what was the error? What happened, right? So we see, hint, you have attempted to use a feature that's not implemented. Statement ignored, unimplemented this syntax. When I see this, I know that in Cockroach, it means that, well, we haven't implemented the syntax, and that's living in the giant yak grammar. So if I go around searching for on constraint, I think I'll find the thing that's missing here. And sure enough, here is the declaration in the grammar for on conflict. And you can see that in the grammar, we have different things that we can do. This is actually the definition for what we can say in our on conflict clause. We can do nothing. We can have a where clause. We can have a list of columns. We can have a do update set. We can have a do nothing. And then we've got this one on constraint name, and we just return an error. So the first thing to do is going to be to add an abstract syntax tree node change that allows us to do something for this. Lexington, dude. Yeah. You must be a Massachusetts person. Just kidding. It's probably your autocorrect. The grammar, lexing, and parsing stuff has always evaded my understanding. It's definitely got a rough exterior. It looks intimidating, this grammar stuff, but you know, it's not that bad. I think at a high level, you can understand it like there's a nested set of rules. You know, if you could look at, you know, how would we parse a select in SQL? You'd sort of want to start from the left and you'd say, okay, well, when somebody writes select, what do we do at that point? And that's kind of how these grammars are sort of formed. They're these collections of rules that reference each other. And the further you go down, eventually you'll get to some concrete clauses. Like in this particular case, you know, an on-conflict clause can be one of these four things. That's what this is saying. And if you look at where it's referenced, well, it's referenced in one place. So when you're inside of an insert statement, you're going to try to parse it by looking to see if there's a with clause, looking to see if there's an insert into, and keeping just checking these rules over and over again recursively as you're reading through the words in a particular sentence is kind of like what it's about. Takes a little bit to wrap your mind around it, but it's kind of neat. It's kind of a neat thing. This is a Yak program that generates Go. It's called GoYak. So a .y file is a Yak file. So YACC is what Yak is about. There's some things that have... So Yak is kind of like the old school thing. Lex and Yak were the original two C tools that generated parsers and lexers for you, but they've gotten more advanced. So there's Flex and Bison, which are the sort of slightly newer ones. And then I think there's like a bunch of either newer things like, why am I not remembering the name of these tools? I can't really remember. But anyway, so these are like sort of a particular style, like an original style of these sort of parser generators. And there's some new styles that have different features and they're different in various ways that I don't, to be honest, know too much about. But there's more modern stuff than this is kind of what my point is. Any research I recommend on the topic of lexing and parsing? It's a good question. You know what? I bet... Where's that book that I was just reading about this? You know, there was that interpreter book that came out that everyone was obsessed with, right? This guy, Crafting Interpreters. I bet that this has a chapter about parsing, right? It's got to. And I think this is online for free somewhere, isn't it? Parsing expressions. So I don't know. I haven't really read this myself, but this particular chapter. I actually own this book. I haven't really read through it in completion, to be honest, but I'd like to. I would take a look at this. It kind of seems like, although, it actually kind of seems like they just sort of hand code this thing. Anyway, this is a good intro. You should take a look at this. Yeah, the Thorsten book's also true. Yeah, so Thorsten Ball, interpreter, parsing. Anyway, you can probably find this stuff. Is it this? These are all... Maybe these ones you have to buy. Maybe these ones are not available for free. Anyway. Those are some things to look at. So let's go ahead and start working on this guy. So ultimately what we're trying to do here in the parser is say, if we see this rule, we want to do something. We want to represent the things that we've seen in a Go struct. That's okay. I mean, obviously, we want to support our friends that are making cool resources. So I'm not saying that I think you should buy it. Support Thorsten Ball. Make it happen. So we want to be representing this stuff as an on-conflict AST node. So let's go take a look at that. This is what this struct looks like in Go. It's just a regular struct that has some stuff in it. And the truth is that we don't actually support enough things in this to be able to do an on conflict with a constraint, because there's no like field for saying I am a constraint on conflict clause. So we need to add one. So basically we want to have a thing that's either columns or constraint. So like constraint name, we'll just call it a name like this, I think. Maybe just constraint. So exactly one of, no, it's not exactly one. I think it's at most one of columns and constraint will be set at once. Columns is the list of constraint columns. It's the list of arbiter columns. Arbiter columns, if set that the user specified in the on conflict columns list. Constraint is the name of a particular of a table constraint that the user specified to get the list of arbiter columns from in the on conflict on constraint foo form. Okay, so once we've done that, then back in our grammar, we can actually go ahead and say, in this case, we're going to say, instead of setting a columns, and then also in arbiter predicate, I actually don't know what that's about, opt where clause. I suppose we need to think a little bit more about what are the forms that we can support. And for this, since we're just really trying to be compatible with Postgres, we're going to go and take a look at the Postgres documentation to understand what kind of forms they support. And it looks like the way it works is it's an on conflict. It might have a conflict target, and it always has a conflict action, which means that the where predicate thing is not coming into play here at all. So we can ignore that safely, I believe. On conflict. No, because the on conflict actually includes the action too, though. So actually we need to, and the action is here. It's either do nothing or do update set. So I actually think that we do need to support both of these cases as well. So we basically need to have two more of these guys. So we need to have on constraint, constraint name, opt where clause do nothing. Then we also need to have on conflict, on constraint, constraint name, opt where clause do update set, blah, blah, blah. I think like we could conceivably try to like deduplicate this stuff, but it's often difficult to deduplicate grammar rules without running into conflict. And I don't know if it's really worth all of the hassle since it's not that much duplication. So I think I'll just leave it like this for now. So we've got to do nothing. We've got to do update set. And now we've just got to edit our output to include the constraint. We can call it so this is another funny thing about this language is that what you do to like get out the values for one of these recursive rules like constraint name or opt where clauses, you have to actually know the number, the ordinal in the tokens list to get it out. So in this particular case, like up here, this was the 6th, token thing. And down here, it's actually the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th as well. And constraint though is going to be the 5th. And I think with constraint name, we have to find a way to get the thing out. And I guess it's like this. You say, you call tree.name on it like this, I guess. Let's do that. So we'll say tree.name of 5 like this. So that's how we get a tree.name out of this constraint name thing, which ultimately is a tree.name in Go. And then we've got to do the same thing as we're doing up here. So this is do nothing is set to true. And we have no expers and no where, I suppose. Do we have 2 where clauses? Is that for real? On conflict blah, where blah, do update set blah, where blah. Okay, that's pretty interesting. I actually don't think we have this particular. Yeah, so I think it's actually, this one is not present in the onConstraint, right? Because this first where clause was this index predicate thing, whereas the second where clause is the conflict action. So we can get rid of that. And really all we have in this first case is just a constraint and then do nothing set to true. So that's that. And the next one, we've got basically the same stuff here, except we've also got the no arbiter predicate, right? But we do have update expers and we do have this where clause thing. So this is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 again. Do nothing is not true here. Our expers are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then our where is going to be 10. Okay, so that's our grammar rule. And let's go ahead and run the compiler for the grammar. So to do that, we say, how do we do this again? Do we just say make generate? This is a big old compile. So really what we're trying to do, right, is we're running this go yak program on the yak file to generate a Go file. And that Go file gets spit into something called SQL.go, which is a mega massive file that has the entire parser. And this seems to have worked, which means that I guess it compiled. I think we would have gotten an error by now if it hadn't compiled properly. So that's cool. And we can just go ahead and cancel this. And let's actually just rerun dev build cockroach short so that we can, we didn't actually even need to use make generate any longer. I guess the build system has changed a bit and we don't need to do that, which is really nice. So the new Bazel system seems to know when you see a change in SQL.y, you've got to change the parser, which is convenient. The old flow is kind of annoying, to be honest. So this is an improvement. Mega massive pog. Yeah. I'm scared for Twitch though. I'm scared. I don't know. Big streamers moving to YouTube. Who knows what might happen? Who knows? Everyone's gonna leave to YouTube. Hope not though. I do like Twitch. I feel like the interface is better. The community is better. It feels like it'd be a little sad if YouTube ate the entire world, right? Okay, so I think what should happen at this point is when we run this, we won't actually get an error, but it just will sort of ignore what we've done. So if we create table A again, and then I run this onConstraint thing, it still says unimplemented this syntax, which is kind of unusual. Wasn't quite expecting that. Why would that be the case? Exactly. I'm wondering, maybe this thing really didn't generate properly. Maybe this thing did not generate properly? It did seem to generate properly, so I guess I'm missing something else then. So I guess we can also search for 28161. 28161. Oh, I know what the problem is. I'm running the wrong binary. So it's a very silly thing. So I just need to run cockroach short demo, empty. I was just using an old binary, so it's no big deal. So now I think when we do this, it seems to work, except it actually is just doing nothing. So we've succeeded in part one, which is to add things to the grammar, and that's all that we've done so far. So let's go ahead and make a new branch. We're gonna say insert on conflict on constraint. We can make a little baby commit for this, right? Why don't we add some tests too? We'll add some tests to the parser. So parser test. I think this is actually now a what do you call it? Data-driven test. So if we look at parse test insert, I'm guessing we're going to find something where we parse a bunch of insert statements. We don't seem to have anything on conflict, which is a bit surprising. Maybe there's another file for that. Or maybe it's in the upsert. Okay, so here are the on conflicts. And we don't have any tests for the on constraint form. So let's just go ahead and quickly add some of those. And I think we can kind of, we don't have to put the output here. This will get auto-generated. Wow, null bitmap. Thank you for the 19 months. Keyboard cam, let's go, dude. Let's go. Thank you, thank you. You might not have heard the earlier idea. Next innovation for the stream is that instead of the chat cam here, the chat window, I'm going to replace it with another webcam view that points at a receipt printer output. And everything is going to get printed out and recaptured via video. And then I'm going to auction out the chat hard copy at the end of every stream. Gonna auction them out. I'll pin them up to the wall. I'll do something good. I think it's gonna be great. I didn't come up with this idea, for the record, but I wanna do it. I gotta secure it or else I'll get that anti-work one. That I don't think I quite understand. Sell it as an NFT. I would, except I'm anti-NFT. Hello, Durder. Also, hi, Vodler and Yuknes. Anti-NFT. Yeah, I would sell it as an NFT, except NFTs are evil. So I won't be doing anything with NFTs. So, okay, so we're gonna add parser support for this thing. We're saying on conflict, on constraint, foo. Oh man. Okay, that is pretty wild. I didn't know that. That is super cool. I think that this thing, I don't think that this thing would be network connected in the way that those things are probably. The one that I have, it's just got like a serial or USB port that I connected to a Raspberry Pi and like wrote my own stuff for it. I didn't know that. I guess it makes sense that they had like Internet of Things receipt printers. It's pretty natural, I suppose. So we'll do insert on conflict on constraint, do update, and then we'll also say insert on conflict on constraint, do nothing. I think these are the two forms we added. So now if we run, I want to get used to using this dev test thing. How do I use it? Dev help, dev test help, dev test, package, SQL, parser, rewrite, filter equals test parser. Let's just see what happens when we run all of them. So the dev command, it's a homegrown wrapper. It is open source, I believe. It's a homegrown wrapper around Bazel. No, wait. Dev has been moved to the main Cockroach repo, so it lives in here. It's a general purpose tool for folks working on Cockroach. Unlike builds and tests performed with Make, everything Dev does is driven by Bazel as a build system. It's a little mini program that helps you run with Bazel. Okay, fail. I have no idea what this means. CD too many arguments. Okay, well that seems like completely broken, which is fine. What if I just run without rewrite? Does it still fail like then? Okay, so this seems to be at least doing something. We have test unimplemented syntax, which we definitely haven't edited. So let's go ahead and edit that guy at least. Test unimplemented syntax on constraint. So we can delete this guy, which is great. Rerun. I have to say, by the way, I really like streaming while standing up. I feel like it's so much easier to maintain the energy, you know? Boom, bam, boom, bam. Standing up. Standing up. Yeah. Okay, so at this point, I think we're better, except we've got some syntax errors in our test case, which I guess makes sense. Because what? Is it because we don't have 4 lines afterwards? Let's try this, just to see what it says. The camera is mounted pretty sturdily to my desk with a pole and stuff. Yes, I got a standing desk. I got an uplift standing desk. At or near update, syntax error, insert? Did I somehow mess up? What did I do? It kind of seems like I changed one of the old ones. Insert into a values 1 on conflict do updates. Yeah, so I feel like I messed up one of the earlier ones, which seems impossible. These are new ones. Yeah, I think, well, they're not that new, but they are relatively new. They're relatively new. But why does this not exactly function properly though? Out of curiosity, if I run the actual binary and then run whatever this thing was, does this not work now? Insert into a values a on conflict do update. How did I manage to possibly break that? That is disturbing, considering I didn't edit anything. So this is what's fun about parsers, I guess, right? Unless I'm like completely missing something obvious, right? What am I missing here? Is it somehow that like just editing the test screwed up? Let's just run this again real quick without my new tests. Okay, so it's something wrong with the new test cases that I added, which is odd because, oh, I think I know what the problem is. The problem is that I didn't add print support yet to this new node. Okay, so a very important part of all of this is that I've got to make all of this stuff round trip through the formatter. And what is that about? Well, each of the ASTs need to be able to print themselves out so that when you try to represent a syntax tree back in text, it's going to be the same thing as was passed in. So I've got to do that for sure. And the question is, where do these things live? I don't really remember. I guess it would look like func. Where do these things live? Format? What if I just search for? Oh, it should be in here. Oh, I see. It's in the giant insert formatter, I suppose. Okay, so basically what I've got to do here is in my onConflict case, I need to say something like this. If node.onConflict.constraint is not equal to empty, I've got to say context.writeString on constraint on constraint. I guess I put a space up front. And then I say context.format node. And then I pass in my node.onConflict.constraint. Yes, I am standing. The Prisma team going on all in on integrating Cockroach. Yeah, we're pretty excited about that. I think Prisma and Cockroach, match made in heaven. Do I need to pass this as a pointer? Probably. Is that normal? I'm not sure. We'll try that. So if I see one of these guys, I'm going to print it out. That's all. I think that's all I have to do. Maybe. So we're going to run this again and see if anything changes. Okay, so we're getting syntax error, and we still don't see our onConstraint flag thing, which is odd. It's a little bit annoying that this doesn't tell me which line this failed at, right? Is it missing? Is it line 47 of the test itself, or probably not, right? Definitely not. I think that this tooling is still not quite right. Okay, I'm going to delete the rest of the test cases except for this one and run again. And okay, we're at least confirming that when we're printing this stuff out, we don't get... Oh, you know what it maybe is? What if it's this... So hilariously, we've also got yet another way of printing out ASTs, and it's this pretty thing. And maybe we're using the pretty outputter to do this stuff. And both of them do need to implement it, so perhaps that's my issue, and I need to go do it over here. So let's check it out. It's just, we're just gonna basically do the same thing. Over here, we're gonna say if we see, if len of node.onConflict.constraint is greater than or equal to 0, then we're gonna say, what do we say here? Cond? OnConflict cond. So I think we need to print it out as, yeah, it seems fair. We can make the cond equal to p dot row of onConstraint, comma, node dot, or maybe I say p dot, I never remember how this stuff works, to be perfectly honest. I never get it. It's a little bit confusing. It's a little DSL for printing stuff in a nice way that we got from somewhere. So I think we basically go like this. We're going to say cond is equal to this. Okay. That is not working though. A cond is a what? A cond is a pretty dot doc. So do I need to say, no idea. This thing returns to me a pretty dot doc. And a row, on the other hand, returns to me a pretty dot table row. So I guess I need to have, oh, it's just the doc itself. So I think I just need to say, like, what is label? Don't know what I'm doing. Definitely have no idea what I'm doing. I suppose I could run unrow on my on my row, but that seems a little bit wrong, doesn't it? Oh, nest under. So I think I can do it like this. I can just do it like this. So we'll say cond is equal to p dot nest under pretty dot text on constraint, and then the rest of this stuff over here. Maybe this will return something good. Maybe it won't. I got no idea. unexpected error when reparsing without literals. At or near constraint foo syntax error. Okay, so it looks like I need to introduce a space after on constraint, which makes some sense. And is that due to this, or is it due to the other one? Nest under. Doesn't seem like we need to put a space here. Nobody else is doing that. So I have to assume that it's the other one that we edited. Aha, we need to put a space. Run again. It's kind of ironic. This is definitely the simplest part of the project, and it's taking quite a bit of effort, but it's okay. It's okay. So what are we getting now? We're getting expected blah but found blah. Okay, so this is good. This is saying that we just need to rewrite the test cases since we kind of just pre-populated them with some junk. So we'll rewrite them and then examine them. So it looks like rewrite support maybe is maybe a bit broken for this particular one, which is fine. It's a bit annoying. So I might just use the make version for now. Make test package equals package SQL parser, test flags equals rewrite. Actually, let me file a bug report about this because I do think, so somebody would like to know it. CD too many arguments. CD too many arguments. Any issues here? No. Okay, so let's just go ahead and make a new issue for the folks who are working on dev. Rewrite support for parser tests returns error CD too many arguments. Okay, so let's take a look at what this is going to be here, and I'll just go ahead and copy and paste this entire output into the issue. Trying to run the package SQL parser data-driven tests with rewrite. But I get an error reproduced below about CD too many arguments. So I'll make this and I'll assign it to dev. Wait, is that not a thing? Maybe it's over here. Okay. Okay, so we'll do that. That's fine. All good. Let's see if these rewrites actually worked well. So let's get diff our number 3. This seems good to me, right? Like, I don't know, normalized, fully parenthesized, literals removed, identifiers removed. Let's make sure that our constraint had its identifier removed in this case, and it seems like it did. I don't know. Seems good, maybe? Seems fine. The only thing I'm concerned about a bit is earlier when I did this and I didn't have quotes, I thought it was failing. Oh, it's not failing. Okay, good. We're good. We're good to go. Okay, let's go ahead and make a little commit for our parser changes. Git add 1 through 5. Git commit. Tree parser, add support for on conflict, on constraint. Is commit, add support to the parser for the on conflict, on constraint form of insert on conflict. The release note, we kind of have one, but it's all going to get squashed with another commit later, so we'll just leave none for now. Halo. Dude, yeah, you've been playing Halo Infinite, right? Halo Infinite's pretty cool. I played it a few times. I like it. So the line numbers for each line, Hi, Robin. Yeah, there's this cool thing called get number. I think I even have a command for it because it's a popular question. Get number is awesome. I wish that get had this by default. It's so good. So much easier to specify them by number than by name. I can't believe that people can live with it just by name. It's wild. So big fan of the script. Highly recommend. Yeah, I'm the same way. I feel like when I was a kid, I felt like I was so good at Halo. I was like running around playing Halo. I felt like I was great at it. And now it's like I'm just so bad, just getting crushed all the time, like losing. It's painful, but it's quite fun. I am enjoying it quite a bit. I'm just playing a little bit, not too much. Okay. So now that we've added the parser support, what's next? What is next? The next thing is, of course, to figure out how to implement this darn thing in the database. So let's first of all take a look at what the columns usually get used for. And we'll kind of use, so essentially what this constraint thing is doing, right, is it's meant to check the table that we're inserting into, look up the constraint with the given name, and then use the columns in that constraint instead of the columns in this list of columns. So we need to kind of follow the pattern here a little bit and find the right place to do that lookup and replace the columns that we're going to look up with the columns that we've already got in the constraint. Sold Halo Infinite alongside the terrible Xbox 360 headsets. I like that. So if we look up where we're using columns, there's really just two places, and it's up here. We've already kind of mapped the rest of the places that this thing is being used. So it's really just two places in this one file, opt builder insert.go. And so I think we need to figure out whether we should be passing in. So it looks like what this guy does, and we use it twice in both cases, it says, given a list of names, give me out the list of columns, the ordinal column positions within the table that correspond to the given names. So interestingly, I would say that trying to decide whether we should give back the list of names in the constraint and then just pass it to this thing, that would make the minimal change, right? We could add another stage that says, okay, give me the names of the columns inside of this constraint. Or we could say, given this particular constraint name, give me back this output, right? The fast inset that we were returning anyway. I'm not sure which would be better. Let's start with the first way. Maybe it's simple. We also need to think about like what would be the most elegant way of showing this. I feel like the most elegant thing would be to say, instead of having a function that says map public column names to ordinals, I feel like we really want a function that says like get arbiter columns, and we pass in the whole on conflict tree node. I feel like that would be the most elegant thing. So I think I'm going to do it that way. We're going to change this guy to be called get arbiter column ordinals, something like that. And then instead of saying that correspond to the given names, we're going to say that correspond to the given on conflict clause. Something like this. So then jumping back up, it looks like we always do this, by the way, even if the columns might be empty, which is interesting, right? So I suppose it's valid that this thing could have 0 conflict ordinals, seemingly. Yes, it is valid that this thing could have 0 conflict ordinals, so that's good. And then we're going to change the input to this thing as well. So it's actually going to take a on conflict tree dot on conflict pointer. And we're going to pass that in both cases. And then I guess this is the key moment here. We need to decide what to do. Like the original meaning was this, right? This is what we used to do. And now the thing that we need to think about doing is we need to say if on conflict dot constraint is not equal to empty, then we've got to pull out the list of column names that comprise this constraint. So then the question is, how do we look this up inside of the schema? Do we have enough information at this point to do that? So mb.tab. Are there constraints in this thing? Of course, there's probably not going to be anything so useful as that. It does have unique constraints though. So here's another question. When we're talking about constraints in the definition for this thing in Postgres land, what do we mean? What do we mean by constraint? Is it just unique constraints? Explicitly specifies an arbiter constraint by name rather than inferring one. So interestingly, I wonder if this is actually also something that we could kind of skip, because what if when we get these conflict ordinals, yeah, see, we actually are going to have to do extra work, aren't we? Because arbiters is actually supposed to be a list that we assemble by sort of searching through the possible things here. So we could actually even be much faster. We could skip this entire phase, which looks quite complicated, and simply return the specified arbiter, I suppose. Why is there a set of arbiter indexes though? That's another confusing thing. What is it that this feature actually does? It literally just allows you to specifically list the constraint or index to use to check uniqueness in an on-conflict clause. So normally I think the idea is that you just give a list of columns and then it like sort of finds one that can support the check. It could use any index. If you have 3 indexes, ABC, ABD, ABE, and you pass in AB, it'll just pick one, I guess. Whereas this thing, it says, use this particular constraint, I guess, is the idea. Seems like yeah, is it an index hint or is it semantic? I think it...
Yeah, we poked you with sticks till you fell down. Remember?
You sure I didn't harness the power of the sun?
No, it's definitely sticks. Beaten with sticks.
All right, go get 'em.
All table name unique indexes that, without regard to order, contain exactly the conflict target specified columns or expressions are inferred as arbiter indexes. So I guess I think this form that I'm adding is more of a hint. It's both a semantic and a hint. It's semantic because it's got to...
How's it going, man?
It uses the columns in the hinted index to decide whether to reject a row or not. Nah, then again, the rejection would happen anyway. It's not whether it's not whether to reject the row. It's whether to perform the action, I guess.
Are you still here?
If an index predicate is specified, it must, as a further requirement for inference, satisfy arbiter indexes. Note that this means a non-partial unique index
I'm sorry. I thought the show
will be
was over.
inferred
Started?
Yeah, oh yeah.
if such an index satisfying every other criteria is available. Yeah, I don't really know. it could do a check against an index which is not unique. That I pretty much doubt, but we'll find out. Arbiter. It's just a word. I don't know why they call it that, honestly. Primary key A, B, index C. So what happens? Oh wait, I can't do this in Postgres. Always annoying that you can't specify indexes inline in Postgres. Create index on derp of C. So I don't think I can say, because it's a constraint. An ordinary index is not a constraint. I don't think I can say insert into derp values 1, 2, 3 on conflict on constraint a p key, do nothing, dt derp. How do I look at the constraints of derp? Describe table view sequencer index. So it's a d derp. Derp p key. Oh, I said a p key, didn't I? So derp p key. This allows me to do something, but there is no, this is not a constraint. This is just an index. So if I don't think I could say derp c idx. It'll say constraint does not exist. So I don't know. I don't know. What does it mean? Who knows? I have no idea. Doesn't much. Well, it does matter. It does matter. But whether I understand it exactly, maybe that doesn't matter as much. One thing I don't understand is why would there be a list of arbiters? That is confusing. Oh, we don't support it. So that's cool. And then for each arbiter, there's something about partial predicates, which is fun. I think that the correct thing for us to do here would be to literally just set the arbiter to the one that was passed in this case, which to me means that we need to not exactly do the thing that we were doing before. Yeah, hell yeah, dude. Halo 2 arbiter, let's go. I think what we want to do here is pass in primary ords. This is for upsert. So we just need to figure out a way to say, in this case, if we have a name, let's try to use it. So should we just pass the name in next to the conflict ords? Is that the most elegant way to do this? It feels definitely janky. Maybe we just ought to pass in the on conflict clause to both of these build input things. I think that would be maybe the best move here, just from a code perspective. No, because in this case, we don't actually have an on conflict clause, so it's different. Tricky. Get explicit primary key ordinals. On the other hand, I suppose what we could do here is construct this actually using conflict columns derived from the primary index as the join condition. Like, shouldn't we ideally avoid having to do that search in this case as well? I think so. I mean, I think ideally what we would do here is instead of passing in primary ords and then run find arbiters, which is quite expensive, we should just be able to set the arbiter directly to the primary index. I feel like that would be the cool thing to do here. I think that would be the cooler thing to do here. But how do we do this code-wise is a question. Another option is that we could pull out find arbiters and then pass in the list of arbiters to this guy, something like that. I don't know. I think the best thing would be to pass in I think the best thing would be to pass in the entire on conflict thing. And then if it's nil, what that means is that we're doing an upsert and we always want to specify the primary key. I think that's what we're going to do. So, okay, let's carefully make this happen. Build input for upsert is going to get as input, instead of conflict ords and arbiter predicate, it's going to get just an on conflict AST. On conflict tree dot on conflict. And then it's the same for our other case. So in this case, we're going to pass in nil. And then we're going to do the same thing for our build input for do nothing. This thing is going to get it's just we're going to pass in our inst.onConflict. Cool. And this is going to take in on conflict. Like this. Okay. So then what we get to do here is say, right, so we have to pick. Either we're doing find arbiters using the old method, which in the old method is going to be on conflict.arbiter predicate, and passing in what we used to have here, which is copy this. Pass in our insert.onConflict. Or, so we're gonna, how do we decide? We're gonna say if we have a onConflict.constraint is not equal to empty, then we do the opposite of this. So we have a constraint explicitly named, so we can set the arbiter to use directly. We have to infer an arbiter. You know what? Honestly, I feel like this function, this get arbiter column ordinals, should be doing this entire job. It should be called get arbiters, and it should call find arbiters inside. What's up, Rail? How's it going? Happy Friday to you as well. So I think we should actually be calling find arbiters from inside of this other guy, is my sense. Because then this guy can do the entire job, and we're just calling it twice from two places. Very even, very sweet, very nice. So this is going to be called mb.arbiters is equal to get arbiters. So let's actually jump here. We're going to call this get arbiters. Then we get to do one of two things in here. We're either going to say, we're going to come back and do this exact same switch inside of the get arbiters guy. So we're going to say, if we have one directly, we'll do something. Otherwise, we'll actually just return something here. So for now, we'll just return nil. But eventually what we want to do is return the actual arbiter we're going to construct. And this is actually going to return something called an arbiter set. Arbiter set. So we're going to return nil for now. Or just, I guess, the empty one, arbiter set like this. Otherwise, we're going to do the same thing we used to, which is we can get rid of our else. We can get rid of this. An arbiter set. So we'll do this. We'll do our whole job here. And then we're going to say just return mb.find arbiters. And the conflict ors are just going to be our ors here. And the arbiter predicate we're passing in. Okay, this is getting nice. Definitely getting nice. The only remaining thing is that it's awkward that we have both get arbiters and find arbiters. Why don't we call this get arbiters from on conflict? Okay. So then over here, it's the same guy. Oh, we actually just get rid of this altogether. We're passing in our entire insert.onConflict here. Put this like this. We need to pass in our entire insert on conflict like this. And here we're just going to pass in our on conflict. Then we say mb.arbiters is equal to. Okay. So the only key thing here is that we've actually got to make sure of something, which is that we have to say if on conflict is equal to nil, no on conflict constraint means that we're in the upsert case, which should use the primary constraint as the arbiter. The arbiter. So then I guess we can have two cases where we can synthesize an arbiter set. And so now I guess we just have to figure out how to synthesize this arbiter set, and then we'll be good to go. I think. Get rid of all this stuff. So if it's nil, what we need to do is construct an arbiter set out of the primary index, which I don't know exactly how to do that, but conflict ors is empty, then all unique indexes end unique without index constraints. Okay, so that's another tricky thing. We need to watch out for these unique without index constraints, which I don't really totally understand. But for now, I think, why don't we just try saying, ultimately what we want to be doing is something like arbiter set var arbiter set, var set arbiter set, set dot add unique constraint. Yeah, that's a question, right? How do we find the primary key? in the case of do primary keys always get to be, do they always have actual index constraints now? I don't know. So we have this new thing with unique without index, and that's for these multi-region tables, but I'm not sure if you're allowed to do that on a primary key. I just don't know. Hold on. We need a little bit of background lighting here, everybody, for sure. Definitely need to up the background lighting. It's getting a bit dark. And I think we're also going to turn down the brightness from my right over here, as it's getting a little bit dark. All right, this is a little bit more chill. Hey, Lithium, thank you so much for the 14 months. Did I discover whether it's easy? I would say that right now it's feeling pretty easy. We're still in the good path. We're feeling like we're making progress, and I think we'll probably be able to ship this thing. So I'm excited. Have I ever used the ENT framework? I have not personally, but I've heard a lot of good things about it. Have you? Do you like it? My hair is now long as yours once was. Hell yeah. My hair's, it's getting long. I think I've been getting some feedback. I may need to start, trimming it a bit, maintaining it a little bit. I like it long. I'm enjoying having long hair, but I think I need to clean it a bit, keep it on the cleaner side rather than the main side. But we will see. Go Jesus. I feel like I've already gone a little bit Jesus. You've been using it since beta and you're excited for where it's going? That is cool, man. What do you like about it? What do you like about it? So we just say mb.tab, and then maybe we can say mb.tab. Guess we can't. How do we get the primary index here? Maybe we can't. Is that for real? The table's primary index is always the 0th index. And we can use cat.primaryIndex to select it. Cat.primaryIndex. So we say m.tab.index of cat.primaryIndex, I guess. Just wait a few years. Database Jesus. Well, Jesus was Jewish, so it's matching. I can live that. I kind of like large data bank though. I've started to change all of my social handles to it and stuff. I'm into it. You know what? Yeah. Anyway, I'm into it. I like large data bank. It's fitting pretty well for me. So we're gonna go ahead and say if onConfig is equal to nil, we're handling an upsert. Oh wait, can do it over here. So we'll say set.addIndex, like this, I guess. Of IDX. Okay, so we actually just say cat.primaryIndex, I guess. LDB, baby. Not to be confused with LMDB. Anything like that. It'd be cool. It'd be really cool. Let's say I decide one day the stream is going to be about making a toy database. Obviously, the database is going to have to be large database. That'd be sick. LDB. Is there such a thing as LDB already? LDB. There's something called the .ldb Microsoft Access Jet database engine. No. No, dude. Not great. Microsoft Access Jet Database Engine. Dude, what is this? It's a database engine on which several Microsoft products have been built. Holy moly. It's the underlying database for Microsoft Access. Dang. Well, we've learned something today. Linked list database. A single key read-only application on vast amounts of data? Fascinating. Fascinating. Web scale DB. Yes. What's up, undefined? NC7. Wait, did I already say hi to you, C17? Either way, hi. I'm not doing Advent. I was just talking about it. The trouble with Advent is that you got to stay up really late. If you want to be like hot off the presses solving, you got to stay up too late for me. 12 a.m. EST. It's a little late. It kind of destroys your sleep cycle if you're wanting to act like a normal human being, at least in my case, for me. So I'm not doing it. But, you know, that's all right. I'm doing good. Thanks for asking. I'm doing pretty good. So if we got a constraint explicitly named, we can set the arbiter to use it directly. So how do we find a named constraint though? So I guess we get to say mb.tab.unique count. So I think we basically say for I in range, for I is equal to 0, I less than unique count, I plus plus. Yeah, I think the thing is that we actually have to use these unique without index constraints as well. So we'll have to get into that in a second. I think we know we do it like this. If it's without index, add unique constraint. I don't really get. Oh, it's because some of them are indexed and some of them are not. So this is just saying use the indexes if we have them. And if we get to unique constraints and they don't have indexes, then we use them there. I think that's what it's saying. But either way, this doesn't really matter. I think like we're kind of fine. We just need to say for I is equal to 0, blah, blah, blah. We say constraint is equal to mb.tab.unique of I. Then we say constraint.name, and we say if constraint.name is equal to onConflict.constraint, then I guess we have to stringify this guy, right? Then we say set.add. Now, what do we say here? Do we say add unique constraint or do we say add index? That's what I'm still confused about. Because over here we're saying add index, and over here we're saying add unique constraint, but we only are using. I feel like it should be fine. We're just gonna do it this way, and we'll see if everything is like broken or not. I guess this needs to be pulled out, huh? Prefer to check empty string by comparing to empty string instead of len is equal to 0. Yeah, that's a good point. I guess I don't know. I guess I'm assuming they compile to the same thing, but I'm not positive. It's a good question. So then we're gonna say return set, and then if we don't actually have anything, found nothing, we have to return an error. So let's go ahead and see what kind of error Postgres returns in this case, because we wanna be like them. So we basically say constraint blah for table blah does not exist, and if we turn on set verbosity is equal to verbose or whatever, so like this, then run this, we get a 42704 error, which is a what? 42704 error. Is it pgcode.go where we define these? 42704. An undefined object error. So we're going to go ahead and say, just like this. We're going to go ahead and just like this. But instead of undefined column, I guess it's an undefined object error, which we don't really have available in this thing. But you know, we don't actually need to really make a helper for this. We can just write it directly. We can just say panic. And of course, in this code, it's a little weird for Go, but in the optimizer, we propagate errors by just panicking, and we have a panic handler system to deal with it for various reasons. So panic pgerror.newf, undefined object, and we say constraint blah for table blah does not exist. For table blah does not exist, and we're going to be passing in the onConflict.constraint, and we're going to be also passing the table name, so just tab dot, or it's mb.tab.name. Yeah, is this going to work? Is this going to work? I don't know. Why don't we find out? Should we write tests or should we just YOLO it? Let's just YOLO it for now. And we'll see if that does any good for us or not. Dev build cockroach short. Be right back. I want to get a little snack. Snack achieved. We got almond cup. We got banana. Yay, basil. Yeah, I agree. We're trying. I use it. I use it when I code, which is basically just on Fridays these days. Okay. So we're gonna run cockroach demo empty. Uh-oh. Well, this is not a good look, you guys. This is not a good look. This is why we don't YOLO things, because they don't work. So we've done something to destroy everything. Let's take a look at what tenant grant is doing. Tenant grant, it's probably doing an upsert. No, it's literally just running a grant. Okay, well, not good. Root is not a role admin for role admin. Yeah. So, I guess we could run with some more logging flags here. So log to standard error. Okay, so it's upsert, failed to run, upsert, runtime error, invalid memory address or no pointer dereference. Okay, well, that would do it. That would certainly do it. Oh, I didn't return. This is critical. Okay. Don't worry. Don't panic. Nobody panic. It's going to be fine. Let's compile again. I was missing a crucial return. Actually, I don't think that really mattered, did it? Because this was an else if. But this was not an else if. This was somewhere else. So I think we're hopefully going to see a difference now. No, we still see the same thing. Runtime error, invalid memory address or nil pointer dereference. So, we probably need to figure out what find arbiters is doing a little bit better. If there's no conflict ords. Oh, I didn't run make arbiter set. I think that's the issue. I've got to actually do this. I can't just use a nil arbiter set, I suppose. So I need to go like this. It seems like set arbiters. We'll see if this helps. That seemed to do something good. So we'll turn off the logging. It seemed to do something good. Make our table. So this is working, the non-constraint version. Select star from A. This is seeming good, I think. Then hopefully we should be able to say, instead of saying on conflict AB, we should be able to say now on conflict on constraint, AP key, and we should see the same thing happen. AP key for table A does not exist. Okay, so that doesn't sound right, because I do think that we have such a constraint, don't we? Show create table A. We have something called AP key, so something is not working with my little lookup, but that's okay. We're making some good progress. Did I see the new JetBrains editor? I did. Is that the remote editor thing? JetBrains remote editor thing? What is it called? JetBrains Fleet. JetBrains Fleet. Is that this? Remote development? Is this the same as Fleet or is this different than Fleet? It seems like this is actually different. JetBrains Fleet. Oh, I actually didn't even realize. Oh, I actually didn't realize that Fleet was just a new editor altogether. Wow, I didn't know. That's cool. So can you use it yet or what? Too many early access things. So it's a lightweight editor. I guess the idea is actually that it's somehow simpler than normal JetBrains. Weird. I don't really get it. So it's kind of like a, I don't even know, because it's kind of weird. It's saying that it's lightweight, but also it has IDE features. So which is it? Is it lightweight or does it have an IDE? If it's powerful, it's as powerful as JetBrains normal. That'd be sick. But if it's kind of hampered, I don't know why I would want to use it. Like I feel like I use a lot of the power of Goland. I really try to use as much of it as possible because I find it excellent. And so depending on what they have and what they don't, I may not like it. We'll have to see. But I think they're trying to differentiate themselves from VS Code because they've still got the full JetBrains power under the hood. I think that's what they're trying to say. I think. I don't know. Okay, so how come we can't find the unique constraints, right? Why don't we just go ahead and say found constraint dot name, and we'll also print out our onConflict just for funsies. It's a JetBrains version of thin editor with configurable LSPs. But I think it's trying to say that it's got even more than just LSP, right? Because it's actually, I think it might be actually using the JetBrains backend, not like the Go LSP backend, for example. But I'm not sure. Constraint A P key for table A does not exist. I'm also not getting those printouts. I wonder why that would be. Maybe it's because a primary index does not count as a unique index. Could that be the case? I think that's probably what it is. Maybe it's something like this. Because we have similar logic over here. We say, if it's unique, we add it. Otherwise, if it's unique with that index, then we add it. It's a bit odd. It's a bit odd. So we'll get rid of this. That seems to be working. And if we select, we get 43. And we should get 63. Yeah, that seems to be working. Very cool. So if I say constraint something else, it doesn't work. There's more testing to do, but I think that this is basically good to go, more or less. It's the idea. The idea is there, end to end. There's probably things that are missing though. So I think what we should do now is add some tests. We should add some tests. And there's a few other things that we should do probably. I think there's some explain output that we need to change. Let's start with that. So if I do create, I do my insert, and we actually do explain, and then we do it right. So it has the P key. What does this look like? It looks like an upsert into, and then it says arbiter index is blah. Actually, that's better than I thought. Because if I do this, it also says arbiter index is a P key. So that's actually kind of cool, isn't it? Isn't it? So let's go ahead and search for this. So basically, I think what we need to do here is just say, let's take a look at one of these tables. So we'll go to the bottom and make another one of these little test case blocks. So we're going to say test on constraint arbiter index selection. So we're just going to basically copy this. And instead of saying insert into ABC, select blah on conflict A do update set, we're going to say do conflict on constraint. And then XYZ, it looks like it's going to be XYZ P key, right? XYZ P key. Unconstraint XYZ P key. Do update set. Okay, so we'll do that. We also probably want to do a different XYZ YZ key. Let's do like a bunch of these different arbiter indexes. So XYZ YZ key. And then XYZ ZY key. We'll just do both of them. And then we'll also have one for where there's no such key. No such constraint. Okay, so then let's go ahead and I wonder if the dev rewrite works in this particular set of test cases. So we're going to say dev test package SQL op builder help rewrite filter equals test opt builder upsert exit status 7. But what does that mean? Is it, do I need to quote this? Well, I've got no idea what this means. I'm going to revert to make for now. So we're going to say make test package equals package SQL opt builder tests equals test opt builder upsert. Directory not found. I guess that's the issue. What is the opt builder directory? It's SQL opt builder. I might file another issue against dev for this. Let me file another issue against dev for this, just while I'm at it, while I'm trying to be nice and write down the problems that I find. Dev test with a non-existent package path returns an empty, crashes with exit code 7. So if I, okay, so this also has the cd too many arguments problem. So that's all right. We'll just use make for now. So if I run dev test with a directory that doesn't exist, I get an empty error. I get dev just exits with code 7 without an error message. I was hoping, ideally, I'd like to see an error message that tells me what went wrong. So let me put an example here. So I'm going to write dev test blah blah. Oh, so that actually was fine, but package blah does not work. So I'll just copy this, paste it like this, get rid of this stuff. Is there like a dev thing? Not really. Okay, so that's fine. So let's go back and use make for this. We're gonna say make blah, package SQL opt builder upsert, test flags equals rewrite. Okay. So looking at the difference, it didn't seem to do anything. So that's unfortunate. Why would that be the case? No test to run. So it's not called test op builder. I always forget what this thing is called. Maybe it's just called builder test. Test builder, it's called. Oh, whoops. I was specifying constraints on ABC, XYZ, but I really need to be looking at ABC. So ABC does have a single arbiter index ABC A key, which is not all that exciting. I think I'd prefer to use this XYZ table as a thing to insert into. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And probably XYZ has X, Y, and Z and not A, B, and C as column names. That's obvious. So we need to change A and B down here to X and Y. And then our do update needs to say X is equal to 5 as well. Okay, let's try again. Okay, this is looking good. Maybe. Hopefully. We see XYZ P key. We see XYZ YZ key. We see XYZ ZY key. Seems good. I want to find a way to do a unique without index test as well. I'm not sure how to even do that. We just run. So another question I have is, what happens if somebody specifies a partial index constraint or partial unique constraint? Is that a thing? Is that a thing? Demo. So can I say something like create table A int primary key, B int, C int? Can I say something like unique index on C where C is greater than 10? That does work. Then the question is, show create table A. If I say something like select star from A, no, wait a minute, insert into A values 1 on conflict on constraint. Well, what happens if I, without on conflict on constraint, if I just say on conflict of C set, I guess it's like 1, 2, 3 on conflict. Dang it. Insert into A values 1, 2, 3 on conflict of C, do update set C is equal to 10. No unique or exclusion constraint matching the on conflict specification. But what if I said where C is greater than 10? That also doesn't work. What's up, Root? I'm looking aesthetic today. Thanks, man. No unique or exclusion constraint matching the on-conflict specification. That is fascinating for sure. On conflict, do update. On conflict, on constraint is what I want to be looking at. So on constraint, used to allow inference of partial unique indexes. Any indexes that satisfy the predicate, which need not actually be partial indexes, can be inferred. So that is very interesting. So I don't think that we actually even support that today, it seems like. It seems like we don't even support that today. It seems like we listen to this where index predicate. Oh, no. I'm actually using the wrong thing. I think I need to actually put it over here. It needs to say on conflict of C where C is greater than 11. Oh man, that is tricky. That is super tricky. Very interesting. The question is, so let's say we're in Postgres land. Drop table derp, create table derp a int primary key, b int, c int. Let's do the same thing over there. We're gonna say create unique index on derp of C where C is greater than 10. And then if I were to say d derp, and if I were to say something like insert into derp values 1, 2, 3 on conflict on constraint derp c idx do update set c is equal to 20. Constraint does not exist. Okay, so I'm just not allowed to do this at all. So that's fine. That makes my life easier. It is a bit odd, I will say, to not permit this, because we can actually do it in the case where we're inferring it. But that's okay. Explicitly satisfies an arbiter constraint by name rather than inferring one. Constraint name. Okay, well, whatever. I mean, honestly, we should encode this in a test. We should definitely encode this in a test. Like in the test we were just editing. So this guy, is there any wheres? Actually don't have a test in opt builder for partial index on conflict things. Maybe it's over here though. We do. We actually do in fact have one of these guys. So why don't we go ahead and make sure that this is happening. We're going to also say error when an arbiter index, when a partial arbiter index is explicitly specified, which is not allowed. So we'll say like this, insert into comp, and then instead of saying on conflict B, we're going to say on conflict on constraint. And we're going to want to pass in one of the names of these partial index constraints, which is going to be called what exactly? Arbiter, maybe partial indexes P key or comp P key? Or U1 maybe. U1. What is U1? Yes, it's U1. So we're going to explicitly specify on constraint U1 like this. Okay. So that's that. And we've got to do next the unique without index things. Gotta eat a banana. I feel like I accidentally didn't eat lunch. I had like a really late breakfast with a friend. It was a big breakfast, like kind of a brunch situation. But then as a result, I didn't have lunch and now I'm like weirdly hungry at an odd hour. Does that ever happen to you guys? Eating at odd hours throws everything out of whack. It's happening right now for you. What's up, Jeff? I've been working on Cockroach since 2016, and it kind of, I think it started officially as a company in 2015. So I joined a little after it started. But it also, like, I kind of got started a little bit, I think, before the company started. The founders were at a company together, and they were working on it a little bit before the company was a thing. So I'm not really sure. 2015, 2014, I joined 2016. That's the idea. Okay. So unique without index. That's the next thing. Unique without index. Unique New York. Unique New York. So is there an opt builder test for unique checks insert? Is that what this is? Yeah, that seems to be what this is. We use all the unique constraints and indexes at arbiters for do nothing with no conflict columns. On conflict clause references unique without index constraint. That's exactly what we want to do here. So we just want to kind of copy this down below. And we want to say, instead of on conflict W, we're just going to say on conflict, on constraint.
Everything's gonna be all right.
And we're going to name it unique underscore W. And I think what we want is exactly the same thing as we have up here. So we'll just rewrite it though. Okay, so let's now go ahead and run the rewrite with upsert, first of all. So we changed that one. And also unique checks insert. And also partial dash indexes. Let's start with partial dash indexes. So in partial dash indexes, we're expecting an error, but we're not getting one. So that's actually bad. We need to make sure that we're doing an error here. So over here, I think we need to say, it's kind of interesting. In Postgres, it just says constraint does not exist, which is not exactly true, right? It's like create unique constraint index on derp of B. See, this I think would count as a constraint. It's a little bit odd. Oh, that actually doesn't work in Postgres though. Hold on a minute. I guess it just because it's a unique index doesn't mean that it's a unique constraint. Oh, yikes. So that's a bit of a difference. I wonder if we create. So in Postgres we have to say alter table derp add unique constraint blah on B. Is that how it works? No. I guess we need to look it up. Postgres unique constraint. you just say a column constraint when written as a table constraint. Now this is very odd. I see. So as a partial index, it's not really called a constraint, I guess is the idea. And also it can't be an expression index, which is interesting. Table constraint using index. Oh, using index is different actually. This is quite tricky, huh? So I can make a constraint that's unique using a particular index, but not if it's a partial index. The other one that I can do is I can say add table constraint not valid. So if I were to say something like alter table, add unique, like this. Oh wow, that is definitely weird. That is definitely weird. So I actually have something called a unique constraint, which is distinct from a unique index. Okay, that I actually just didn't know about this. So like, yeah, that is super weird to me. Like both of these things are the same index, but one of them's a constraint and one of them's an index. So I think I can also say add alter table derp add constraint blah unique using index derp b idx. It will rename the index. Wow, that is very, very odd, I have to say. Very, 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 very odd. And if I were to try to do this using the derp c idx, which is partial, this is not going to work. Cannot create a primary key or unique constraint using such an index. Man, that is weird. I really didn't know about this. I definitely don't think Cockroach mimics this. It definitely does not. There's no chance that it mimics this properly, which may not really matter, but it's definitely a little bit confusing. Like, if I run this, I get a unique index and no such constraint. Now, does that matter? What if this somehow matters? Select star from PG. Now, where PG constraint? Is this a thing? It is a thing. So if I select star from PG constraint, I see this is so in Cockroach, basically what we do is if we make a unique index, we just like make it a constraint also. That's kind of what's going on here, which I think is like probably fine, to be perfectly honest. It's probably fine. Okay, anyway, so coming back to the actual point here though, can I select a partial? No, the whole point is that I can't because it's not a constraint. Okay. So I think I just have to make a different error for this, basically. Like over here, if I see if index dot is, it's like if the name matches, but if index dot, it's like, how do I know if it's partial here? Predicate is not equal to nil or something. Somebody, yeah, you're probably right about that actually. And true if the index is a partial index. If so here we're gonna just say it matters for deferred constraints. So you can't have a deferred unique constraint, I don't believe. I don't believe you can have a deferred unique constraint Postgres. I think this is just banned. I'm fairly sure. But I could be wrong. I guess we can find out. Set constraint derp b p deferred. No. Is this an alter table then? Set constraints. Begin. Yeah, so you can't defer a unique constraint. So I don't think it really matters. Maybe. Who knows? So if we have a partial thing, we're just going to say, we're going to give another, we're going to have some sort of error here. It's basically going to say, it's not an undefined object. It's kind of like a wrong object type, maybe. Is there like a constraint error? We'll just go with wrong object type for now. There's no arbiter, is there? Conflict. We'll just go with wrong object type for now. Wrong object type, and we're gonna say constraint. Yeah, man, it's definitely a little bit sketchy. A little bit sketchy. You know what we could actually do? We could return the same error, but we could include a hint and say that the hint is that this is not really a unique constraint. Maybe it's something like that. Well, we'll just make an error. We'll say unique index blah for table blah is partial. And cannot be used as a unique constraint, as an arbiter. And I think I could include a hint if I really wanted to be nice. I could say something like pg error dot with hint. No. How do I make a hint thing? Hint. With hint. Errors dot with hint. So errors dot with hint. The hint is going to be to how do I even say this? It's like use the on conflict columns form, columns where predicate form to select this partial unique index as an arbiter. Is this going to make sense to anybody? I don't know. Possibly not, but it's probably fine. Okay. So I think it's the same down here. Arbiters, you know, if constraint dot predicate, it's the same thing. All right. So let's rerun our tests then and see if they are doing things correctly. What's up, Clay? How long have I been in databases? Since 2016. So let's just diff this thing and make sure that we're getting an actual error. On conflict clause, no, here we go. So here we go. Error when a partial arbiter index is specifically specified, which is not allowed. Unique index U1 for table comp is partial, so cannot be used as an arbiter index directly. Good enough. Seems fine. So then let's try again with our unique checks insert. Unique checks insert. Did I do any systems related programming before this? So I worked on other data related infrastructure at my previous job. It was at a bit of a higher level in the stack. What is systems programming anyway, though? Like, is working on a SQL optimizer execution engine really systems programming? This what I'm doing right now? Maybe it's not really systems programming. It's kind of language programming. There's parts of it that are systems related, I guess. Like there's very performance sensitive parts of the execution engine that maybe you could think of as systems since you're trying to make the computer go fast. But what is systems programming anyway? I'm not working on the storage engine. Is that systems programming? There's distributed systems portions of SQL though, like thinking about how to parse apart a query plan and stick it on multiple machines far apart. Is that systems programming? I'm not really sure. So that's what I'm up to. That's what I'm up to. I'm not trying to sass you. I'm actually just not really sure when people say systems what they mean. Databases, operating systems, things like that. Yeah, so I guess if you use that definition, the first time that I worked on a database was this company. Hey, no audio, but I'm waving. What up? Thanks for 17 months, man. Really appreciate it. Enjoy your meeting. I'll say it in text. Enjoy your meeting, buddy. Thanks for the 17. Okay. So let's take a look at what we did on the unique constraint one here. On conflict clause references unique constraint, unique without index constraint explicitly. So we are in fact referencing unique W, so that seems good. Can you have a partial unique without index thing? Digestive systems programming? Someday, do you aspire to work on database stuff? You too can, for sure. Systems programming, I think I would say it's not really that much different from non-systems programming. It just has a different and scary name. I think that it might be sometimes gate kept a little bit more than it should be because it's just programming on stuff. Most systems programmers know nothing about systems theory. This is the sort of thing, right? It's like anybody can do it. If you stick your head into the game and try, then you'll be able to do it too. Okay. So right, can you have a unique without whatever I'm saying? What is it called? A unique without index. Are you allowed to have a unique? You are allowed to have a partial unique without constraint. Oh my God, that's so complicated. I can't even take how complicated that is. All right. Let's just grep for it. Unique without index. And then we want to look for, yeah, like this guy. This is exec builder. We want the opt builder though. So why don't we just search package SQL opt builder. Unique constraint, unique checks insert. Okay, so well, it's the same file that I was just editing actually. So let's just go back over here. Make it deferrable. Oh God. There's no such thing as a unique deferrable index, I swear. Unique without index. Where's my where? Okay, unique partial. Use all the unique constraints as an arbiter for do nothing with no conflict columns. Okay. Error when there's no arbiter predicate to match the partial unique constraint predicate. What about error when when trying to select a partial unique constraint? I'm trying to select a partial unique without index constraint explicitly, which is not allowed. So I'll do this. I'll do this. Instead of A, we're going to say on conflict on constraint. Is it unique A? Or it's unique partial P key. Unique partial P key. Okay, so we're gonna rewrite our tests again. And we get syntax error. Oh, is it that? I think I need a triple dash thingy. Error when trying to select a partial unique without index constraint explicitly, which is not allowed, except we don't error. That's not good. That is not good at all. So we've got to fix that for sure. Now I thought that this would prevent that from happening though. So what am I missing here? Maybe the arbiter index that I selected was in fact not partial. It probably unique partial P key doesn't mean that the P key was partial. It just means that it was the P key of the table called unique partial. So I think that's the issue. I think I need to select this thing, which I don't know what it's called. Maybe I can find it. Arbiter, unique partial P key, unique partial P key, unique partial constraint and index A key. Is that what it's called? No, that's another table name. What would this thing be called then? Unique with an index A, where B is greater than 0. But what is this index called? Is there no index for it? Is that what? That doesn't sound right. Oh, it's called unique A, I think. I think it's called unique A. So instead of partial P key, it's actually unique A. Okay, let's try that again. So now, this is good. Unique constraint, unique A for table unique partial is partial, so it cannot be used as an arbiter index directly. Okay, I think that we're good then on this. Now the last step is that we've got to add similar test cases to the actual execution engine. So we're not done yet, but we're getting there. We got to add a lot of tests. We got to add a lot of tests. So where would these be living? On conflict. I guess it would be in here. So partial index. Not partial index. No. It would be called just like on conflict or something. On conflict. Or upsert maybe. Or is it just in the giant insert test case? Where would these? I'm confused. Insert. Is it just in the upsert test cases then? Could that be it? On conflict. Okay, here they are. Trying to think about the best way to exercise this stuff exactly. Maybe it's just to literally do for each of the test cases a copy with an explicitly named arbiter index? Or does it not really matter to do this? I mean, like, I think if it goes through opt builder, I actually think it's like technically enough because I know that I didn't edit any execution engine code, but like, it's probably not enough for regression testing purposes, right? Like if I look at the diff, I've only edited things in opt builder. And theoretically, if the opt builder output's the same, then the execution engine output is also going to be the same, right? I'm gonna upload this for review and see what people think. How about that? I feel a little guilty to do that though. I think I want at least like one test that tests this stuff end to end. It's a bit irritating. TBH, bit irritating. It's just so hard to organize these test cases because they're so complicated and there's so many of them. I think that's what I'm complaining about right now. Like I don't want to mess with these test cases because they're very targeted and very like they're doing what I'm doing in a sense. So maybe I suppose I could just do it, just put some right down here. Statement okay. We'll just say test. We'll just say lightly test, and we'll say test explicitly specified arbiter indexes. Note that these are mostly tested by opt builder test cases since they compile to the same outputs that inferred arbiter indexes are. So here we're going to say on conflict, on constraint. Maybe I'll just make it at the bottom. I'm dissatisfied by the organization of these tests. I'm not gonna lie. I guess there's really no point in me adding these drops. I'm just being like OCD for no reason. Okay, let's stay focused, stay focused, stay focused. Statement okay. We're gonna say create table arbiter index A int, B int, C int. Primary key AB, unique index, unique of C or something like this. So we're going to say insert into arbiter index values 1, 2, 3. We'll say, I mean, we might as well test one here. So we'll say insert into arbiter index values 1, 2, 3 on conflict, on constraint, A arbiter index P key, do nothing, do it twice, then we're going to do an on conflict, change these ones to be 2, 2, 3, and if we see an on conflict, on constraint, arbiter index C key, I think is what it's going to be called. We're going to say do nothing as well. We'll say, well, why don't we say do update set C is equal to 10. Then we'll just say, make sure these all say statement okay. We're going to say query I, select star from arbiter index. Okay, why don't we just, we're going to start with that. That was a really heinous test, but that's all right. So we're going to say make test based logic files equals upsert. Okay, so for some reason I did this for no reason using all of the configs. So we're going to run again with test config is equal to local, test flags equals rewrite. Let's see if we get anything good here. Okay, so we're getting 1 to 10, which I think is correct. So we're not going to go crazy with testing here because again, we're pretty sure we've tested it nicely in the opt builder tests. And why don't we make a subtest though? We'll say subtest, explicit arbiter indexes. Great. So we're going to make a commit SQL implement on conflict on constraint syntax. This commit adds support for the on conflict on constraint form of insert on conflict, which allows users to explicitly specify arbiter indexes for the conflict resolution, detection, and resolution rather than using the on conflict columns form, which I would say infers the arbiter columns, arbiter indexes instead. Release note, SQL change, add support for the on conflict on constraint form of insert on conflict. This form is added for compatibility with Postgres. It permits explicitly selecting an arbiter index for insert on conflict rather than inferring one using a column list, which is the default behavior. Great. Okay, so let's make a little branchy guy for this. So why don't we just go ahead and get the pull request name from the second commit here. Probably a more efficient way of doing what I'm doing, but you know, whatever. Okay, so, and then we're gonna also go ahead and say fixes and then stick in this name 28161, which is, you know, I'd say that's a pretty relatively old issue. So I'm feeling proud. It got opened back in 2018. And so why don't we go ahead and add these folks and also these folks for review. Make a pull request. Cool. Well, we did it. I think we basically did what we set out to do, I think. I'm going to also say, CC Marcus, I'd like your opinion on whether on this. Oh, why don't I just add him as a reviewer explicitly? M. Gartner, I wasn't totally sure what I was doing with regards to unique without index constraints. Actually, I'm not even sure if Marcus is the person to ask here. What is this? Where did this stuff come from? Is a question. Unique without index. take a look. Previous revision. What am I missing here? Add partial index predicates for table. Oh, did I just move the location of these things? Make arbiter set. That was over here. But what about the find arbiters, I think is what I was looking for. Whoops. Bookmarks. This is definitely something that is useless to me. Why are there bookmarks in an IDE? I have no idea. So this was a Marcus thing. Okay. Very cool. I'm hoping you can take a look at what I've done here. Thanks. Same goes for the partial indexes. I believe the correct behavior here, verified in Postgres, is to ignore, is to disallow selection of partial indexes explicitly, since they're not considered constraints in Postgres. It opens a bit of a can of worms, though. In PG, unique indexes don't always have to be constraints, whereas in Cockroach, unique indexes are always both constraints and indexes. I'm a little concerned that we're getting something wrong here. What if, are we accidentally reporting partial unique indexes as constraints when they shouldn't be, for example? Another difference, when we create a partial unique index in Cockroach, it's given the key suffix. In Postgres, it's given the IDX suffix and cannot later be converted into a true constraint. I'll write some of this stuff up later if you think it's useful. Just wanted to jot down the findings for now here, though. Okay. That's actually, is that even true? Did I just make something up that's a lie? Create table, A int, primary key, B int, unique index on B where B is equal to greater than 10. Show create table A. Yeah, so I do see this AB key thing, and this should really say AB IDX, I believe. Okay, great. Well, 3 hours, we did our project. I'm feeling pretty good. I think it's probably a pretty good time to end it. It's pretty rare that I'm able to finish a project end to end, start to finish on a single stream, so I'm feeling pretty good about that. Sometimes I'll start on something else, but right now I'm feeling like it's probably time to take a breather, take a break, and end the stream. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and find someone to raid. Let's go ahead and do that. And while we do that, what are you guys doing this weekend? What's everybody up to? What's happening? People doing something cool? What am I doing this weekend, for example? My friend is having a party. He created a TV wall out of CRTs. It's gonna be pretty sick. It's like he got, I think, one Raspberry Pi per TV. He like networked them up together, and then somehow he broadcasts a video and tells them to like segment the TV and put different portions of the video on each of the TVs, and it's pretty sweet. I'm quite looking forward to that. I think the party is just to celebrate the existence of this device, and maybe he'll put some videos on it or something like that. And anything else am I doing? Probably some other stuff, but that's looking forward to that the most. So who all is doing stuff? Everyone's like advent of code, advent of code, advent of code. We're all doing advent of code. Okay. I get it. I'm not doing advent of code, and therefore I'm uncool in the world of software and game development on Twitch. I get it. Should we raid an adventor? Or should we raid somebody else? Learning Rust we got. We got poker programming, Java Spring, and TDD. We got a J programmer. We got a microservices and Go programmer. That sounds pretty interesting. But this guy's on a BRB break, so maybe not a good time to raid them. But I do like raiding Go programmers, so maybe they'll be back soon. Maybe we can raid them when they come back. Somebody just rang my doorbell. I'll be right back. That was weird. It was FedEx. My downstairs neighbor got a huge package. And lately, for some reason, the FedEx rings my doorbell for the downstairs people. I don't really know why that is. It was very heavy. I think it's like a loft bed for one of their kids or something. Christmas. Man, I'm like exhausted. That was heavy. Okay, let's find someone to raid for real. Why don't we just go ahead and do... Is this guy actually making coffee in front of our eyes right now? Is this like not just a screen, but an actual live feed? Oh my God, it really seems like it is. Wait. No, it's a loop. It's a loop. I think. I'm confused by what's going on there. Let us simply raid. Let us simply raid. I'm struggling here, you guys. I don't know who to raid. Let's just raid Grimly. I've never seen Grimly. They seem like a nice person. They're doing some advent. Let's just raid Grimly. Raid Grimly. Cool, guys. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure. I'm glad we got to hang out. I'm glad we got to implement this feature. It was lots of fun. Hope you guys have a good weekend. Enjoy yourselves out there. Do good stuff. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Thanks for all the subs and chats and support. And I'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye.